So, as discussed on the last night's live show on this channel, we spoke about the letter from Richard Durbin, Senator, to the Food and Drug Administration FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb. They have until July 20th of 2018 to respond to the letter. But this is the second letter that was sent off by Durbin. Under federal law, the FDA is not obligated to respond to the letter. On the other hand, if the Senate subpoenas the FDA commissioner to answer any and all questions in regards to this particular letter, the contents of the letter, then the FDA commissioner is compelled to do so, is compelled to respond. Even if they're asking, let's say they're asking for certain documentation, like in this particular letter, the Senate can subpoena the FDA to compel those documents be sent over to the Senate, the U.S. Congress. Now, of course, the FDA can fight the subpoena. They take it into the United States District Court. They could fight that out. They could go to the Court of Appeals and then stop. So they do have avenues to fight this particular letter. This has to do with product reviews of vapor products that have a manufacturer finished product date after August 8, 2016. FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb has been dragging his feet in regards to responding to this letter and the last letter that Durbin sent off. And probably the FDA will not respond to this letter either. And it was just like the Ron Johnson situation back in 2017. He sent off, I think, 3 or 4 letters to the FDA, to the commissioner at that time was Robert Califf. The FDA never responded. Ron Johnson never issued a subpoena, and so the FDA never responded to those particular letters or responded to Congress in general, the Senate, and that was that. And that is probably how this is going to be played out with Durbin. Durbin is probably doing this for political points and to maneuver himself with the health industry. And we're going to turn to each of the individuals, 13 of them, that signed off on this letter, and see if they have any type of financial gain as far as their campaigns are concerned, or any kinds of conflicts of interest in regards to the health groups. The health groups have filed a lawsuit against the FDA regarding the August 8, 2018, and saying that that must be upheld by a court of law. Now, even though the health groups are correct in regards to the August 8, 2018, because it's in the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act of 2008, 2009. Nevertheless, if a court of law rules that the FDA can move that August 8th, 2018 date forward into the future, like Gottlieb had done to August 8, 2022, then that date can be moved anywhere for way outside of the August 8th of 2018. FDA moved the court for a summary judgment and also requested a dismissal because the health groups won't incur any injury to the case. Now, like I was saying on the live show, if these health groups had gotten together with people that were actually injured, like e-cig explosions and things of that nature, 2 meth mounts, whatever have you. There was one individual in the news about a wet lung. She had a mild case of asthma in the past, and apparently, according to the news article, had her lungs irritated by vaping. She only vaped for 3 weeks and wound up in the hospital. The point is regardless if it's user fault or not, these health groups should have gotten together with these particular individuals and then sue the FDA, and that would be actual injury. They would actually have a claim to state to the court. But because they're maybe indirectly affected, they're not directly affected by moving the August 8, 2018 date to August 8th of 2022, as well as the Chevron doctrine is probably going to kick in. Therefore, the FDA will receive its summary judgment and dismiss the case. Probably it would be dismissed without prejudice, that meaning that the health groups can refile again on the same issues. And that would be a good time for the health groups to get together with these particular individuals that have actually been injured by products that have a manufacturer finished product date after August 8th, 2016, that have had no FDA marketing orders on them. Now, any individuals that have been injured with a manufacturer finished product date product before August 8, 2016, that won't help the health groups. Only products that have not been reviewed by the FDA, and none have been reviewed by the FDA since August 8, 2016. In fact, none have even been reviewed before August 8, 2016. Then the health groups may have a chance to refile. But that's the only way to go about it. But they, made their mark. They got their day in court, so to speak, the health groups, that is, and I guess they're pleased with that. I don't know. So what's that have to do with Dick Durbin? Well, if you read the language within the letter, it's the same thing. They're talking about the August 8th, 2018. They're talking about products that are on the market without FDA marketing orders. And so it's really hand in hand. So we were talking about it on the live show. If Dick Durbin and others like him on this particular letter that have signed off on this letter have any kind of conflicts of interest, what are their, where do they get their money for their campaigns, super PAC or PAC funds or whatever have you, it may give you an idea as to know exactly where these senators are coming from. Now, I've looked extensively throughout these particular senators. Some have conflicts of interest, some do not. But we will go through each one to delve into the situation. So anyway, so this is June 27, 2018. Like I said, FDA has up until July 20th of 2018 to respond to the letter. Will they respond by federal law? They don't have to respond unless they're subpoenaed to respond, because that kicks off the legal process. But out of just common courtesy to the Senate/Congress, the FDA commissioner can respond. But by federal law, he does not have to. And I spoke about this in another video, so I don't really necessarily have to go through it all. They mentioned the fact of the Juul situation. And so a little bit here, it says the deeming rule required manufacturers to submit information on all e-cigarettes and cigars that enter the market between February 15, 2007 and August 8, 2016, the effective date of their deeming rule, to allow the FDA to assess the risk to public health. However, much to our dismay, instead of requiring manufacturers to submit this information by August 8, 2018, as required by the deeming rule, which is in the Tobacco Control Act, you, meaning the FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, made the decision last year to suspend this common sense review until at least 2021 for cigars and 2022 for e-cigarettes, and possibly longer. So that's really the crux of this entire letter. And it says, in order to better understand whether the FDA is enforcing this aspect of the rule, we request answers to the following questions as soon as possible, but no later than July 20th, 2018. Will Gottlieb respond by July 20th, 2018? Most likely not. He may, but I doubt it. And if he does, he's not going to give them exactly the information they're looking for, I'm sure. Because this is also pending in a court of law as well. So then you have these names here. Richard Durbin, Sherrod Brown, Richard Blumenthal, Patty Murray, Edward J. Markey, Jeffrey A. Merkley, Diane Feinstein, Jack Reed, Elizabeth Warren, Chris Van Hollen, Sheldon Whitehouse, Tammy Duckworth, Tommy Udell, and Margaret Wood Hassan, or actually Hassan, it would be Hassan, or actually Maggie Hassan. So we will take each one at a time. So let's go to Dick Durbin. Now this is from the opensecrets.org site, which gives you basically an idea of who these individuals are, as well as to break down where they get their money from. So the way I did it was top industries, select the cycle. So I did the 2018, and the campaign committee and leadership, PAC combined. You could do only or combined. I decided to do combined. So he gets a lot of money. Let me make this a little bit bigger here. He gets a lot of money from law firms, retirees, maybe the ARP, like AARP, real estate. Now he gets $271,000 from health professionals. That's the total. Individuals, he gets $107,000 and $164,000 from PACs. Let me see exactly what PACs mean. So yeah, so it's political action committee is what that is. So Political Action Committee is an organization that pools campaign contributions from members and donates those funds to campaign for or against candidates, ballot initiatives, or legislation. Okay, so let's go back to Durbin. So he does get money from the health professionals. He gets hospitals and nursing homes, $152,000. So the health groups are wrapped up into Durbin's monies that he gets for these campaigns. So he does get money from the health groups. So from health, by here, where the mouse is at, individuals and political action committees. So he does make a lot of money. And then they talk about the sector and the same thing, $620,000 from the health. So he's wrapped up with them. He definitely has a dog in the fight. In other words, for him to get reelected, he does rely upon health groups to put him in the office. Let's go into Senator Sherrod Brown. Same thing I did with him. He gets it from some health professionals, hospitals, and nursing homes. So he gets over $1 million from health professionals. So he also has a dog in the fight here. Hospitals and nursing homes, $550,000. See, he also is put into office by health groups. Look at that. How much money this guy gets. He gets almost $2 million from the health industry. So the health groups that work hand in hand with like Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, things of that nature, are wrapped up in these politicians. And so they get money from the health groups or from Pfizer or GlaxoSmithKline. It doesn't really break it down like that. I could find it if I really looked hard enough, but just seeing health is enough to know exactly what's going on here. And then they donate to these particular senators to put them back into office so they can lobby for, or have lobbyists lobby the senators, and the senators will create bills to better or promote or make more profit for the pharmaceutical companies or whatever have you, which in turn is supported by the health groups. So it's a revolving door. They all work hand in hand. So he too also has a serious dog in the fight as well. It's 2 out of 13. This is Richard Blumenthal. It's again the same thing. He doesn't really have anything with health. He's on the Commerce, Science, and Transportation, Judiciary, Veterans Affairs, and Armed Services Committees. So, I don't know. Could look into his industries. Let's see if that shows up anything. Oh, yes, he does. So he gets $320,000 from health professionals, and he gets $216,000 from food, pharmaceuticals, and health products. So he also too has a dog in the fight. See, it's all working hand in hand. So that is 3 out of 13 that have not so much conflicts of interest, but they take money from Pfizer, GlaxoSmithKline, from health organizations, from health companies, and in turn, I'm sure it's all wrapped up with these health groups one way or another. Let's go to Patty Murray. Let's go to industries. It's best to go there because that sort of breaks it down much better. Let's see where she's coming from. So she gets $749,000 from pharmaceuticals and health products. So she too definitely has a dog in the fight. Health services and HMOs, she gets $228,000. This is for just the year of 2018, guys. I'm talking about all the other years that led up to 2018. So she gets a lot of money. She gets $1.6 million from health industry. So she makes a pretty penny, this lady, this Patty Murray. So that's 4 out of 13. It's Ed Markey. It seems like it's best to go to the industries, so see it more, breaks it down much more for you. I mean, they have elections, political action committees, contributors, geography, demographics, expenditures, legislation, news, and other data. But I like to know exactly where it's coming from as far as the industries are concerned. He gets $365,000 from pharmaceuticals and health products. So he also has a dog in the fight. As you can see, they do have, it's all wrapped up, they're all fighting for each other. The hospitals and nursing homes, 161,000, health professionals, 156,000. So he too, of course, gets 815,000 from the health sector of the country. That's 5 out of 13. This is Jeff Murky. Apparently I was mistaken, thinking that they don't get monies, and certainly they do. So he gets 260, where the mouse is at, 263,000 from health professionals. $389,000 total from the health groups. See, so he also is making money that away as well to put him back into office. Now, Dianne Feinstein, she's a real liberal bleeding heart, this lady. I don't trust her even with my life. Oh, look at that. So she gets $134,000 from pharmaceuticals and health products. See, they're getting money from these particular industries. Health professionals, $90,000. So from health, she gets $294,000 from the health. So she definitely also has a dog in the fight. So that is 7 out of 13. Now Jack Reed. I'll do this. And he gets $178,000 from health professionals. I'm sure GlaxoSmithKline and those kinds of companies are wrapped up in these particular donations. So he gets a total of $288,000 from the health sector. See, that's why I say that that letter to the FDA is wrapped up with the health groups that are suing the FDA. It's all relative. All work hand in hand. Let's see, she gets, health professionals, $300,000. Health services, HMOs, $107,000. So for a total of $613,000, she gets from the health sector. And Chris Van Hollen, health professionals, gets $829,000. Hospitals and nursing homes, $416,000. Gets a total of $1.6 million from the health industry. Looks like they're all in bed with the health sector in the U.S. markets. Pharmaceuticals, health products, $199,000. Health professionals, $146,000. So for the health, he gets $404,000 out of the health. And Tammy Duckworth, do the same thing. That's what I was failing to do last time, because it didn't show it on that other summary page, but does show it when you put the industries and you put campaign committee and leadership PAC combined, then it shows up. Health professionals gets a $302,000. Insurance companies, $120,000. Doesn't say exactly what the insurance is for, but a total of $560,000 from the health sector. So they all have their, they're all part of it. They're part of that whole situation here. Health professionals, $203,000 for Tom Udall. So a total of $316,000 from the health sector. And this is Maggie Hassan. And even, maybe she doesn't have nothing coming from, no, yes she does. Health professionals, $210,000. So $506,000 for health. So every single solitary senator on this letter gets money from either the health groups, that is not for profit organizations, or from actual huge companies, be it pharmaceuticals. In fact, some of these guys actually get it, actually says it directly that they're getting it from pharmaceutical companies. and or from the health professionals. That could be pharmaceuticals, could be just medical groups. I'm sure they get money from the American Lung Association, American Heart Association, or actually it's American Lung Society, right? I think. The American Cancer Society, that's what the one is. Yeah, American Cancer Society, American Lung Association, you name it. I'm sure somehow or another they probably even get monies from Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. It would not surprise me if they did. These are all not-for-profit organizations. Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids is actually considered a not-for-profit health group. They actually are promoting health in their within their policy guidelines. They're not they're not actually like the American Lung Association, but they still have to do with health in general. So all these senators here have a dog in the fight. I don't know if they have conflicts of interest, but they certainly have a dog in the fight. They certainly are put into office, helped by either the health industries, being like Pfizer or GlaxoSmithKline, and or by not-for-profit organizations like health groups that are suing the FDA. So it's all wrapped up together. So that proves the point that the FDA is being not cornered, but being targeted by not only health groups that are suing the FDA, but also by the pharmaceutical companies like GlaxoSmithKline, things of that nature, Pfizer, Merck, whoever it may be, which is, I've always said that if the vaping industry was allowed or permitted to carry on as usual without having so many detrimental laws in its way from the state level, local level, or especially federal level, Big Pharma would lose billions of dollars, if not go completely out of business as far as the nicotine therapy or cessation therapies, that is, nicotine gum, inhalators, injectors, injections, lozenges, patches, pills, you name it. They would lose a lot of money, tens of billions of dollars. And so by them, through their own lobbyists, that is Pfizer and those guys, and then along with these health groups that have sued the FDA, they're trying to tame or rein in FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, who would probably, most likely, prefer to be less restrictive, he's more open-minded, and I'm sure he strongly believes that vaping products, for the most part, are a better alternative than combusted cigarettes, and he would like to see those particular products to remain on the market. It's going to be an interesting showdown as far as the flavor ban is concerned, but that's going to be a while from now. It's not going to happen in a month or 2 months or 6 months, probably up to 2 years, maybe even more. And it's going to be a while, especially as long as Gottlieb stays in his position. I think we'll be okay. If someone else goes into his position as FDA commissioner that's similar to Gottlieb, we'll be okay. But if, on the other hand, Trump loses in 2020, and you get someone like Robert Califf in there, the former FDA commissioner under Obama, we have serious problems. And so let's say if it's the year of, February 17th of 2021, and some, Democrat gets into office and appoints an FDA commissioner like Robert Califf, that particular commissioner, the FDA commissioner, will roll back that date all the way back to August 8th, 2018. And all of the products on the market would be considered contraband or illegal. I mean, they are now anyway, with a manufactured finished product date after August 8, 2016, but they're not being enforced by the FDA. But I'm sure it will be heavily enforced if they get someone in there other than Scott Gottlieb. Anyway, I don't want to make this too long. Hope it's only about 30 minutes, 40 minutes long. But I just want to share this with you. I wanted to speak to this. So it shows definitely that these 13 senators that signed off on this particular letter to the FDA definitely they definitely have ties to not only the health groups, not-for-profit organizations, but they also have, especially some of them specifically, have ties to big pharma and definitely to the health industries as well. So you might want to think twice about these particular individuals as far as trusting them with the fate of the vaping industry. So this will be called the Fate of the Vaping Industry, Part 3. And I will keep you guys up to date on my main two focuses on, as far as the court system is concerned, is the Nicopure Labs case with Right Be Smoke Free Coalition, which is up on appeal, and the health group suit against the FDA, but the FDA moved the court for summary judgment / dismissal of the case. They're really the two things that I'm focused on. Nicopure Labs has a very, I mean, they're not going to get anywhere in a court of appeals. It's going to be completely, the lower court decision by Judge Amy Berman Jackson will be affirmed, and that's the end of that. As far as the United States Supreme Court, you can give the law firm $100 billion and still going to lose up on appeal. In fact, the United States Supreme Court does not have to take the case, and it takes a lot of money to petition the court to put a good brief together. It could cost you millions of dollars, and then all of a sudden the U.S. Supreme Court says, by the way, nope, we're not going to hear the case. Whereas United States district courts, those federal courts, and the Court of Appeals, they are required by federal law to hear every single case and to try to resolve every case to the best of their ability. They have to have an opinion of the court. They have to have a ruling on whatever case it may be. But the U.S. Supreme Court does not have to take a case. And in fact, they take very few cases. They receive hundreds of cases every year and maybe only take 50, maybe not even that they actually will deliberate on and issue an opinion of the court. On the other hand, the health groups, when they get dismissed, they'll probably appeal that particular case, and that will be dragged on for some time. By the time, if it's appealed by the health groups, that probably won't be heard with a ruling by a Court of Appeals court until probably somewhere in 2020, 2021. So that saga will continue as well. I think we really need to, as I have stated in the last couple months, that we need to not hold such a grudge against the FDA, especially the FDA commissioner. Now, I could certainly understand you holding a grudge against the director of the Center for Tobacco Products, Mitch Zeller. But as far as the FDA commissioner, Scott Gottlieb, we need to work with the FDA instead of against the FDA. Because really our fate of the vaping industry / community is actually in the hands of Scott Gottlieb. He's going to make or break us. And we need to, not that you need to be on your knees to the FDA, but we need to learn how to work with the FDA. Instead of coming at them, we need to come with them and try to help keep this industry community alive and well into the future. And I'm not talking August 8, 2022. I'm talking, for the next 5 million years, as long as humans exist. So it can be done, but we have to work with the FDA instead of coming at the FDA. I think now, of course, Scott Gottlieb won't always be in office. So that's why it's good to have a court rule on this, and hopefully they'd rule in our favor. Unfortunately, they will not. But that's why we need a court really to rule in our favor, because if you get another FDA commissioner in there that is not at all like Gottlieb, we'll be in serious trouble, because all they have to do is apply the Tobacco Control Act of 2009, and we're sunk. And all those dates that are after August 8, 2018 will be reverted back to August 8th of 2018, and that's be it. And then all they have to do is start to enforce. And they can enforce. They do have the tools, resources to do so. Don't ever think they don't. I hear a lot of people say, oh, they don't have the tools and resources. No, they do have their tools and resources. They will go after the manufacturers. They'll go after mainly the distributors and wholesalers that are in the USA. And then there won't be any products that are distributed to retailers, and the market will begin to dry up. And then it'll create a huge black market. And then the ATF and the FDA themselves, with their inspectors and enforcement officials, will come after whatever's left. And that could take, decades before they clean up the entire market, like they do with combusted cigarettes. They bust contraband combusted cigarette dealers all the time. So that's the way we'll be treated. I don't think Congress is going to help us any, unfortunately, and that's just the way it is. It's a very unfortunate. The most unfortunate thing about the whole situation with the vaping industry and community is that that we were never separate from the Tobacco Control Act, that were considered a tobacco product, which nicotine, yeah, to a degree, but not really. It's not combusted cigarettes. It's far from the combustion. So I've always held that if we had been separate from the Tobacco Control Act and have our own category, we would have lasted forever. Only Congress can write that kind of language. The chances of Congress doing that is probably less than 1%, unfortunately. Anyway, so once again, like I said, we need to work with the FDA instead of against the FDA. And I think by working with the FDA Commissioner Scott Gottlieb, we'd all be for the better of it. So let's say if another FDA commissioner comes into play, which is not like Scott Gottlieb, they'd have to go through all the final rules, the notice of proposed rulemaking all over again. And that could take another, 2, 3, 4, 5 years before all that stuff kicks into place. So we'll probably be well past August 8th, 2022. So maybe by that time, maybe, it's an extreme possibility that maybe Congress will start to come around to our way of thinking. But I would not count on it at all. Anyway, take this video for what it is worth. And yes, these senators, these 13 senators definitely have ties to the health industry, to the health groups, not-for-profit that is, to big pharma, to the medical industry. And I'm sure they're going to continue into the future with these types of collections or donations. And therefore, you don't see any, in other words, you don't see any vaping industries giving money to these particular individuals. Maybe if they did, they'd have we might have a dog in the fight, but we don't. Maybe 5 Palms needs to donate $1 million to Dick Durbin, or maybe Juul needs to donate $10 $10 million to Dick Durbin or these particular individuals on this particular letter. Maybe then we may have a chance. And being as that they do not, it does not show up on these particular official forms I've showed you. The only ones that these particular senators will listen to is the health groups, the not-for-profits, and the big pharma and or the medical fields in the U.S. markets. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. This went way too long. You guys have a good one. Bye-bye.